All right, GM everyone. Today we have with us Wilson from Lobby. Lobby is a knowledge management database, if you will, for crypto Web3, most specifically DAOs, and obviously that expands as it goes on. We have Wilson and Matthew here, so both of them will bring them on stage as soon as they are able to speak. All right, cool, awesome. I'm sure everyone will join in at some point. Let's hit the ground running. So we have Matthew and Wilson here. Both are builders and contributors to the lobby product. I'll just let them do justice with introducing themselves because I'm pretty sure I can't do anything close to what they'll do. So we'll start with Wilson, and then Matthew will follow right after. So Wilson, please hit the ground running and just tell us about yourself, what you do, and then Matthew can take over from there.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me. My name is Wilson, the founder of Lobby. I'm an engineer, product-focused person, and I am currently serving as the CEO at Lobby.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Matthew.
Hey, my name is Matthew. I'm working with Wilson on Lobby, and we've been working together on it since last year.
Dope. Okay, cool. So, quick question, which I'm pretty sure everyone is, curious about, right? Okay, so what exactly is Lobby, right? I know yesterday we had an Explain Like a Vibe session where Wilson walked us through, practically what Lobby does. And you could say that was for a particular audience, but here we are on Twitter, a handful of us have no idea what Lobby is. So, if you don't mind, what is Lobby and why do we have Lobby? So whoever is the most enthusiastic can answer the question, honestly. So Wilson, if you want to take a stab at that.
Yeah, so Lobby is kind of spun out of the need that I experienced when I was at Gitcoin. We're basically, they're one of the best DAOs that exists today, but it was still a really difficult experience to onboard and contribute and find new opportunities and to keep our governance involved. So I kind of want to build a place that is like the homepage for your DAO that has like the resources that newcomers need to start getting involved, as well as veterans and governments to find new opportunities and to make better decisions.
Awesome, cool. Matthew, what is your approach and your perspective to that, and how would you answer the question?
Yeah, I think that Lobby to me was something that really interested me about the idea was that we were really tackling information asymmetry and tackling a lot of the problems that DAOs are facing. One of the things that troubled me when I was trying to get into Web3 last year was that there were so many projects that I felt I really wanted to help out on, but not all of them. Like I couldn't help out on all of them. And so working for Lobby has kind of allowed me to enable many DAOs at the same time to do what they love, and that's why I like it.
Awesome, cool. While you were speaking, I remember when we had one of the things you said that stood out is remembering when I was getting into Web3, right? Same thing, but mine was particularly different, I think. Mine was I'm having you could say, single knowledge base where I could learn anything and everything I wanted to learn about Web3. It felt like things were rather fragmented, and a lot of like the information I got and knowledge I got was just by watching a shit ton of YouTube videos, and just like consuming stuff randomly. I would say, there wasn't a particular structure to any of that. And I suppose if Lobby existed, back then in 2020, my learning process, perhaps as much as everyone else, might have been a lot more structured and less chaotic, you could say.
Yeah, that would be the goal for sure.
Awesome, cool. So right now Lobby is in public beta. Is there, or when is like the timeline for alpha release, and when it's like a fully launched product?
Right. Well, we just launched public beta recently, and so we have no immediate plans to come out of that, but the product is fully functional, and it's open to the public to start their own community and or just learn from Lobby, see what we have already on our knowledge base, see where they can contribute.
All right, cool. Okay, so we'll, I suppose it's basically iterating on everything that currently works and trying to figure out what people need and solving that. And, we talked about this, Wilson and I and the crew talked about it yesterday concerning it's the most important thing is figuring out what people want. So I suppose it makes sense that the next step isn't, we're in beta now and we push to alpha just because, as opposed to figuring out what everyone is talking about, what people are enjoying the most about Lobby, and working on making that the best possible version that exists.
Yeah, and that's been something that's been amazing working at Lobby so far. Is we've partnered with some amazing customers that give us really good feedback, and so it's been iterating has been really awesome, and we keep building features based off of what customers want rather than what engineers think is cool, which is usually a good way to do it.
Yes, 100%. Speaking of that, it was something Wilson talked about yesterday. Focusing on what people want as opposed to what everyone else is hyped about, as from a technical perspective, because we could even in crypto and Web3, for example, from a much more functional standpoint, there's still a lot to be done. But everyone is excited and enthusiastic about the technology, which is cool. Which is also what will help drive mass adoption. But it's not the time to build. I saw a tweet where someone tweeted and said, we need to build for the average user, not someone who can read the Etherscan and stuff like that, something along those lines. And I thought that was so true, especially in crypto. It's not about the enthusiasts in the house. It's more so about people who have no idea what crypto is, but it solves a particular need, and that need, it solves it so well, it transforms their lives. So, yeah, it's to put aside, you could say, the needs of or the enthusiasm to work with high end technology and solve actual problems.
Yeah, and that can be tough sometimes because like I'm an engineer, and so the technical problems in Web3 is part of what brought me into the industry and part of what just interests me so much about the industry. And so I kind of need to pull myself back and make sure I'm not thinking like we're doing something too technically crazy that's kind of a little too far out of scope. I need to always be kind of reining that in.
That is cool. So how would you say that has shaped your growth as an engineer, considering that you need to almost simplify things to its like most simplest form from a functional perspective, as opposed to from a technical perspective.
Right. Yeah, my perspective has definitely changed massively, especially in the past month at Lobby. I've moved from a fully engineering focused role to more of a growth engineering role. And so I've had to take more of an outside view into what we're doing and if it's the top priority thing to be to the company right now and to the product. And so it's really expanded my skills on being able to really choose a direction of where Lobby's going.
Cool. So what are some of the perhaps technical, and this might be a question for Wilson, right? Perhaps technical product-led design idea that led the design for Lobby, right? Like what were the maybe even feedbacks, right? Or the steps that we're taking backwards to say, how do we make this the most functional product that anyone can use and make sense of?
Yeah, so really, to make it something that anyone can use, that's kind of a fallacy in its own right.
Right.
Because
it's a bit of a reach, you could say.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what product is for every single user? So that was actually something I struggled with for a long time. It was like trying to really pick out who that target user is. So we had to kind of zero in on kind of two cohorts, and they're kind of diametrically opposed. One of them is super crypto native people, because we want you to run your DAO on Lobby. So it has to be feature rich enough in order for you as a crypto native user to not feel like it's just another thing with a wallet connect. But on the other hand, we also want to be the place where newcomers can come to get involved in Web3 without having to buy anything. I think writing is one of those really unique things that just about anyone can do without permission. And if you can do it to earn crypto, that's another way to get more and more people into the space without having to, put up capital and invest in shitcoins. So those are kind of the two user groups I was thinking about when I was designing, and to kind of make it as robust of a product as we could, we really wanted to kind of split the difference. And we took a kind of product-led design approach where, as an engineer and designer, I was able to kind of scope out the designs really tightly and tell the engineering team exactly what we wanted. And then they could take that spec and run with it. And since I'm both an engineer and a designer, this proved to be a really useful skill to be able to kind of break down the designs into more manageable pieces.
Cool, awesome. So, Matthew, how did you find that approach? Like, from a technical perspective, were any of the designs that needed to be implemented, were they rather, some of them might have been novel, but were they rather difficult and perhaps technically challenging? I suppose I should even preface that, pardon me, with asking, do you handle a lot of the front end or, the back end, or, is it a full stack type thing?
Right. Yeah. All of our engineers are full stack engineers. And so, okay. Yeah. But working on that has been, sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, so some of the product-led decisions, right, which one of them, or were they particularly technically challenging, and, were they stuff you were looking forward to working on?
Right. Yeah, it's been really interesting. It's been a bit of a mixed bag on that front. A lot of our work has been kind of figuring out and iterating on things, but the actual implementations themselves aren't overly complex or anything. We do have some, we spend a lot of time trying to get everything really tidied. We use Next for our platform, and so there's been some technical challenges, just making sure that we've got all of our server-side rendering all up to snuff. But for the most part, things don't get too crazy technically challenging until we get into more of the Web3 primitive things and more of the novel parts of the product that we're building. That's when we've spent like weeks architecting and then going back into the drawing board and really pulling out all the stops to figure out how we can put these things together the best way.
Yeah, the engineering team might say otherwise, but I definitely intended for the designs not to be super technically complicated, because it's kind of what we believe at Lobby is that iteration needs to just happen as fast as possible. Lately, we've been shipping once a day with like rapid prototyping sprints for the last couple weeks, and the engineering team is tired, so we're going to take a 3-day weekend next week. But but like that's just how important iteration is. It's not taking the perfect shot, it's number of shots on goal. And the bigger problem I think with design is that, or like creating designs into code, is that an iteration on design is just dragging some stuff around. But iteration on code actually requires deploying engineers to go fix stuff. So it becomes 10 times more expensive to turn design into code. And then again, if it actually ends up in production affecting customers, we have to do support, we have to retrain people. And so it becomes 10 times more expensive again to iterate in production. So we're trying to kind of like split the difference between internal iteration, and one might argue even spent too much time on the internal iteration, which is why our public beta is now and not a couple months ago. But we still did get some really useful feedback, and it brought us to where we are here. So that was definitely kind of our goal, is like simple design so we can iterate on the important stuff, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think, to an extent, it's function over form, right? Get it to work. We can figure out how it looks and like all of the other stuff later. as long as it works well, it serves the user base, we can move from there.
I disagree. I think actually in Web3, UX is so bad. Having good UX like Lobby is a huge leg up.
Interesting.
And Dappless. Dappless website is actually pretty sexy, not gonna lie. But
yeah, it is.
Most projects in Web3 are just like HTML pages and have no design. So for exchanges and stuff like a DEX, I think it works. But as people are starting to build more dApps, I think the ones that are best designed are going to be the ones that win because that's just what consumers are used to.
And with Web3, I think it goes beyond just really nice looking, pretty design. It also goes into intuitive, less easy barrier to entry type design. So it's a better user experience as opposed to everything else.
Yeah.
Awesome, cool. So speaking of technical, things and things that were perhaps, interesting to build, can you talk to us about how integrating the GPT-3 search into Lobby and how that solves or how that works, internally?
Wilson, you want to take that one?
Sure. I was waiting to see if you wanted to you were with it. But yeah, so GPT-3 search, that's probably one of our most beloved features and definitely one of my favorites. So basically, for those that don't know, Lobby has a really powerful search engine built in. So as you're building docs for your DAO or community, we index all of those with GPT-3, and then that enables you to then go ask a question to your own Lobby documentation, and you can even get an answer back. And so we partnered with a friend of mine. His name's Morgan, and their company's called Operand, and they're basically search in a box for devs like me. So search is a notoriously hard technical problem, and Algolia is currently kind of the leading thing, but it kind of sucks, as any developers in the audience will probably know. So I knew that we wanted to have the best search experience, not only in Web3, but in the universe. So we went with Operand. So that search engine is available out of the box for free for everyone that uses Lobby. And the GPT-3 is kind of handled by them as well. So it's a great kind of vendor relationship we have. It's always cool to work with your friends' startups wherever you can. So that's definitely making it easier to build together as well, and kind of freeing up some of the work we have to do so we can focus on the really important stuff like our design and the collaboration features.
That's cool. Matthew, I'd like to listen to your thoughts on that as well.
Sure, yeah. Search is, it's been really cool for me to see kind of the questions that people answer and can get or can ask and get answers to. And so just it adds a lot of or saves a lot of time contextual searching because rather than searching through the Notion or wherever information is stored, it's been working for me to just search things up in the Lobby base, and then our Operand engine finds it for us. So it's been really awesome.
All right. So how well do you think, and you're already working with a couple of DAOs and you have a couple customers, and it's only going to scale up from there. But how well do you think Lobby serves the purpose of fragmented knowledge database as it pertains to DAO, as opposed to something like, let's say, Notion, right? Even granted, there's still the data and everything that exists needs to be curated by someone or a group of people. But what would you say? How well would you say Lobby is going to compete well against Notion? And compete, I use it loosely, right? But I think you sort of get the general idea of the question.
Yeah, I think Notion right now is kind of who we may view as somewhat of a competitor, but as we grow as a company, we really don't think that it'll still kind of be a competition for too long, just because we do things that are Web3 native. And so Notion just doesn't work for Web3 communities. They have pay-per-seat pricing and just no token gated access, no Web3 support. And so when we look at kind of what we expect to be competing against, Notion doesn't. Notion serves Web 2 very well, but really doesn't do well for Web 3. We find.
Yeah, not only have our customers said that Notion makes them angry for the reasons Matthew mentioned, but there's also kind of a underlying ideological differentiation that I think that Notion will never pull out of because they're already very successful. And that is that Notion believes in like an operating system for work, which is great. Work is kind of a private place. You're like have NDAs and confidentiality, so you have to make that place private. But at Lobby, we know that the best work happens when people work together, and so we intentionally designed the product for network effects and collaboration across DAOs, not only within DAOs. So that means that every knowledge base is public by default, but of course you can make it private if you want to. And it means that we design things for cross-DAO collaboration because that's something that's going to happen a lot in the next few years. So not only does Lobby kind of like do all the great things that Notion can do today, but we're also really zeroing in on kind of collaboration across communities. And we'll be working on that for the next year because Lobby is less than a year old. So there's a lot of great improvements coming over the next lifetime of the product and team.
Yeah, for
forever,
sure.
hopefully.
Sorry, say that again?
I said forever, hopefully.
Yes, there's still so much to do, and Lobby's still relatively early. And I suppose this gets me curious as to what are some of the more future plans or goals or milestones that Lobby has in store for like its users, its customers, and some of the things we should be excited about.
Ooh. I have a lot to talk about, but I don't know what I can talk about. You want to take that?
Yeah, we have the information handbook, Matthew. So if there's anything we're launching in the next couple weeks that you're excited about, I think that is safe to talk about. Yeah, thinking kind of longer term, we believe in DAOs. We believe in Web3, but also we believe. I started this company because I believe in DAOs, and I believe in what the tech can do for people who work all over the world. So that's where I'm going to be kind of putting my focus on the longer term is like, what do we actually need to build for DAOs to come to fruition in their best way? Because right now we're seeing a lot of kind of decentralized companies. I think Vitalik might have called them DACs, which is great. You're using the blockchain as a way to incorporate, but for all intents and purposes, it's still running like a normal company, and the tech provides us so many more opportunities for permissionless work. So that's where I want to kind of spend most of my focus, but also thinking about that operating system level for keeping DAOs working together and operating smoothly, regardless of how involved like management is.
Speaking of DAOs, reminded me of a rather interesting meme I saw, and I just shared it up on the Twitter Space thing. You can take a look at it when I talk about it. Is talking about how you believe in DAOs, and I think that's important. How exactly do you think DAOs will shape how we work in the future, right? From a functional perspective and properly incentivizing contributors.
That's a funny meme. Zooming out a little bit, it's not about incentivizing contributors, but developing the game structure. So for a long time, maybe the last 10, 15 years or so of the internet, people have been talking about gamification as a way to make sticky products. And in Web3, that becomes trivial. Like everything's gamified by default. Bitcoin is often said to be the world's biggest bug bounty program because if you hack Bitcoin, you're an instant 100 millionaire. So if you're in the audience and you hack Bitcoin and I gave you the idea, slide some of that my way. But the idea is we can use these tokens and reputation tokens and utility tokens or whatever you want to model games. So for us, WikiDAO is going to be launching here in the next few weeks. And the game is you write, you get tokens, but don't write the wrong thing or else you're going to get moderated away and you're going to lose your bounty. So the incentive becomes, well, I don't want to lose my bounty and do all this work /spam just to lose it. So I'm going to contribute something of value. And on the editor side, it becomes there's an incentive to moderate stuff away, but then if it has to go to court and they get decided against, they lose that moderation and they spend like a lot of time and energy moderating for nothing. So by building this kind of simple game, right? I just told you all of the rules of WikiDAO. It's very simple, but the ability for anyone to come in and participate just by learning these rules and then doing some action on the internet presents a really cool opportunity for a truly autonomous DAO that doesn't just control a DeFi protocol. So I'm thinking about kind of what infrastructure can we build to support that kind of DAO that is trying to be fully autonomous, that has some sort of repository it's working against, but can kind of grow and amalgamate and network together over time in a way that kind of an ordinary company can't.
All right, that is interesting. Just a quick break, and to encourage everyone in the audience, if you have any question, if you have any insights, anything you'd like to talk about, please raise your hand, and we'll invite you up on the audience, and you can just we can go off and just have fun with this conversation. So yeah, just a reminder, if you have anything you want to say, you can request to speak, and we'll bring you up. So still on the subject of DAOs. You know, again, it's one of the many things, and you mentioned Gitcoin being one of the really cool DAOs out there in Web3. I suppose I'm curious as to how you think, or what your thoughts are as to moving organizations to be completely autonomous and decentralized. Like, is that something that is one, necessary, right? Two, possible. I know as an absolute, probably not, because not everything can be decentralized, and perhaps not everything should be decentralized. But yeah, what are your thoughts about that?
Matthew, before I jump in, do you have any thoughts?
Go ahead on this one.
Okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the big lesson of 2021, 2022 is that not everything should be decentralized, because A, from like a UX perspective, but B, it's just not practical or necessary. People don't care. We believe that decentralization is good when you need trust but can't get it from someone. And that's really what the blockchain is great for. You can trust the code. And we seem to all have kind of collective amnesia about that because now we're trying to put everything on chain. And so from a composability perspective, it's good. So if we're using NFTs and ERC20s and standards and we're building that out, that is a great use of blockchain, because then you can plug that into financial infrastructure and it becomes very powerful. But decentralizing the whole company, when you could just have a company issuing tokens, it seems like extra steps. And what we're seeing, and the reason the lobby is not a DAO, is because I recognized that kind of early on and said, not everything is going to be a DAO, and it's going to be much easier to turn our company into a DAO once we have some product market fit and extra money in the bank than just trying to start a DAO outright. Because when you do that, you have to solve not only the problems that your company and your mission are, but you also have to solve problems that are unique to DAOs because you're a DAO. So yeah, so not everything should be a DAO. Is it even practical? Probably not, because like, imagine if every decision at the Dapp list had to be made by governance. It's just not practical. So kind of the evolution of DAOs for the last year and a half or so has been, okay, flat hierarchies are the best. We're just going to do governance, and then we're going to make decisions and then do it. Quickly, people were like, okay, flat hierarchies aren't going to work. What if we institute managers? Now governance tells managers what to do. But now we're seeing the problem of governance doesn't actually tell the company what to do. There's no legal obligation to do what governance says. So that kind of defeats the point of even having governance on chain. So that's kind of where we are in DAOs right now. And so I think the best way to do it is to build systems that don't require anyone to do anything. They can kind of sit on their own, that they're autonomous, and then they can use people to accomplish the goals of the system and incentivize them accordingly. That's going to be kind of the best use case for a DAO, and why I think protocol DAOs are kind of today's most successful DAOs, because they have arms that write grants, but mostly they exist to modify the protocol that they govern.
Right. Yeah, no, 100% with the idea that maybe not everything should be decentralized. And, it was really wise moves to just figure out, okay, maybe lobby doesn't need to be a DAO. And there's just so many problems you have to solve because it's a DAO, as opposed to shipping and building products that everyone needs. And what should be a DAO should be a DAO, and what doesn't need to be a DAO shouldn't.
Exactly. If it can exist without millions of worldwide decentralized contributors between borders, then it might be best not to. But if you're thinking about hyperstructures, you're thinking about these just giant aggregates that require lots of human capital and can kind of be turned into these rules-based games. That is a fantastic opportunity to start a DAO.
Yeah, no, that does make sense, and one of the other interesting, and I think one of the things you find out and you discover when you work with human at that scale is that perhaps not everyone is interested in making that many decisions, right? Is interested in having the power to make that much decisions. Like, you guys just do what you need to do to get it to work. I'm just like here when you need me, and with governance, it's like, oh, you have to participate. It's like, yeah, no, not really. I don't want to, and that is mostly the case, especially if we bring it down to like even the traditional sense where we exist with like voting and like contributing what you have to do with getting who needs to be in power to be in power. It's like, yeah, no, I don't need to vote, it probably doesn't count, and it's innate in human nature to want to take ourselves out of like the responsibility bit. It's like, you guys make the decisions so I don't have to partake in the consequences.
Yeah, that reminds me of a tweet someone said a few weeks ago, which was like, if only you knew about the number of people who worked at DAOs and did nothing. Who work full-time for a DAO, they have responsibilities, and they just sit around kind of talking about how great DAOs are and not doing anything. So, like, yeah, that's what you expect with hype technology and hype stuff in general. There can be people who do that. The bear market, we say, is like where the builders really stick around. So when DAOs have their own bear market, which may or may not coincide with the rest of the kind of macro economy, some people are going to be left high and dry. And unfortunately, I'm upset because it's also going to be, perfectly good communities that couldn't generate the hype, that are generating output. That is kind of the problem of our time. Just have attention and productivity, and often people who have one don't have the other.
Yeah, no, I also saw I think it was a snippet from the Bankless interview with Vitalik, where he's talking about a couple projects that they don't particularly have like the marketing, the hype, and everything in there, but they're actually solving a very useful problem with the, I think, ERC 4996, I think is what he called it. And that's like what we have, the problems we have right now. It's like, oh hey, everyone is talking about this project and it must be the shit. And it turns out, no, there's actually no product being built. It's just simply marketing hype and actually trying to get the token out there and just taking people's money. And it's very interesting, and it's something we need to pay attention to. And you could say the bear market has been a blessing and a curse in that regard, right?
Right. It's reminded all of the veterans that, yep, scams do show up. And all of the newcomers, hey, by the way, nothing's changed yet.
Yeah.
So it is a rough time, but if we keep building, that's the most important thing. People that leave and go to Web 2 are back to competing in Web 2 again. Web 3 will come back. If we've watched the fourth cycle and you don't think crypto is going to come back a fifth time, I don't think we're quite at mass adoption yet. And I think most people will agree with me. So that's just the time to focus and build. Get a job, work on the nighttime, build some cool stuff, launch it, and then once you get some traction, that you can find money. And that's the thing. Like, from what I've heard, I did my pre-seed in the bull market, so we haven't quite gotten around to seed yet. So I'll update you when I have more information. But the money vacuum hasn't really hit pre-seed and seed funding yet on the venture side. So if you have they're going to have more scrutiny. There's probably going to do background checks and some due diligence and hey, how's your traction? Who's this for? They're not going to throw money at the wall and see if it sticks. But if you have product and traction and team, that's good enough for early stage, right? If you have great traction on team, product, and sales, those are really kind of the big three things. Then you can get through some early stage capital and get some time to build a team and build out your product. So that's where we are right now. And like I said, I'll update you if that's still true here in a couple months.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure by the time ventures, see the value proposition of the lobby, they'll be writing you guys a couple checks. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you all. you were talking about, we not being close to mass adoption yet, and I think that is so true. Over here in Nigeria, where I stay, crypto is solving a shit ton of problems, and like it's mind blowing, right? There's so many problems that are yet to be solved. At a point, from a fintech perspective, Web2, I thought, what more could there be to build, right? There are products that are doing X, Y, and Z, solving actual problems, and then crypto comes in, and then it completely changes how you could improve, you could say, how you are able to interact and get paid and get compensated without having to rely on all of the limitations that fiat comes with, right? And it's been a beautiful experience. And from a financial monetary perspective, a lot of problems are being solved right now, right? And then even from a functional perspective, like tools and building tools that are more useful to the ecosystem. Yeah, we still have a very very long way to go. So yeah, no, I'm here to stay. Crypto, Web3. I don't see myself leaving or going anywhere else. I hope that's the same, and everyone shares the same sentiment.
So one of my big theses behind Lobby is that crypto stands to benefit the most people outside the U.S. Yet most of crypto development and Web3 development is happening in the U.S. right now. So I think that puts me at an immediate disadvantage because I think that the technology is going to be best applied to people that don't live here. The U.S. has the strictest regulations around crypto of any country. That's why everyone talks about it. So Squeeze, we're not allowed to participate. Soon, stable coins, we're not going to be allowed to be involved. So there's so much regulation around securities, but there's also a ton of regulation around finance. So if someone launches a bad stock and you get screwed, that person's going to jail for a really, really, really long time, and they're not going to like it. In other parts of the world, in most other parts of the world, that's not the case. So I'm actually kind of interested to hear what kinds of things people are using crypto for, aside from just peer-to-peer payments in Nigeria, and what kind of problems you're finding that it solves.
Right, yeah. So one of the most recent interesting ones were, first off, there's a shortage in dollar here in Nigeria, and we have our purchasing power and trying to get stuff abroad. I have to pay for my Spotify, I have to pay for Netflix, I have to pay for a couple of these services that I use, right? And so because of the devaluation of our currency, Naira, a lot of the banks have refused to give us the access to basically they limited how much we could spend from ATM cards from a dollar perspective, right? I think it was capped at $20, and by the time I've paid for, I don't know, Spotify, Netflix, I mean, it's done. I have nothing else to go around. And so that is where crypto comes in. So for example, I can purchase gift cards with the stable coin, and then I can pay for Spotify, and I can purchase gift cards, and I can buy Amazon gift cards and then make purchases there. And so being able to get across all of these limitations that we have currently going on in the economy, crypto really has helped. If there was nothing like crypto, I think it would have just been a really tedious process to get around all of these things. And so yes, from cross-border payments, being able to get compensated, to being able to purchase things that would have otherwise not have been possible because of the limitations, our financial system has put on us.
Gotcha. So it's really sounds like it's kind of like the foreign exchange when you need to buy stuff with dollars and kind of other special weird financial situations. So that's
mostly
really cool that it's helping. And so it sounds like that crypto also has the opportunity to plug countries that were otherwise excluded from the global economy back into it. So that's really cool.
Yes, it basically takes away that the limitation that perhaps would have existed. So we exist, and I like to say this, we exist in a fairly borderless economy thanks to crypto mostly. It's you can quite literally do anything and interact with anyone, and the internet sort of broke that, made that obvious at first. And then here crypto comes with the financial incentive to that. And it's you can do and be and quite literally anything from anywhere thanks to the peer-to-peer system that crypto affords.
Is there any special protocols or apps that are popular, or is it just kind of using tokens natively?
Oh, there are a couple. So first off, we do have a local, what's it called? A local cryptocurrency exchange that enables. So again, for the most part, we have to default to Binance to what's it called, to get crypto. And with Binance, you need to the process is a lot. But some of our Nigerian engineers built a product that simplifies that process and means anyone with Naira, with actual Naira, can interact and purchase crypto and have have access to buy and hold crypto, right? So they're called Bitcoins. So Bitcoins is the name of the product. Bitcoins Africa solves that problem. And also a handful of product like I think LaserPay helps merchants to again accept payments in crypto because of you can have customers from anywhere in the world. You do not want to be tied to the local currency of the naira. And so they're building a platform where that's very developer friendly. So developers can integrate, business owners can hire developers and then integrate the API with their product, and then they're able to, you know, uh, charge whoever is buying from anywhere. Let's say Japan, and they have a stable coin, and they need to purchase something that is obviously digitally accessible, and they're able to pay, in Nigerian here in USDT in a stable coin, and they're able to get whatever they're trying to purchase. So a lot of it has to do with economies, right? Economics is simplifying commerce rather, and also enabling people to get access to cryptocurrency and again hedge against the inflation and the devaluation of the naira mostly.
That's amazing. Sorry, I know I turned this into a reverse interview.
Yeah.
But my last question is really quickly. It's just like, how's the government feel about this? Are they like more behind it than against it, or are they kind of like trying to stifle it in favor of their own currency?
Yeah, mean, it's not necessarily the case that they are for it. They have imposed a couple of regulations that has affected how the ease, you could say, of how the average individual is able to purchase crypto. There was a time, I think this was sometime in late 2020, early 21, where the government issued out a memo that any bank, any centralized bank that is basically any user that uses the centralized bank to purchase crypto could have their account restricted, right? Regardless of the funds in them, and that was terrifying, right? Because what the word was out on the street was crypto was banned, and that wasn't what happened. And so this significantly took a lot of people out of crypto, right? A lot of people were like, yo, crypto is banned, this is illegal, you probably shouldn't be doing this. And I was in the game and I was like, yeah, no, not really. It's not banned. It's like, yo, don't do this. So essentially, if I were to attempt to purchase crypto from someone, which we do quite often, and whenever the person is trying to, in this case, wire me the funds, and they add in the description anything that relates to crypto, so that would be, say, Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, or whatever, I could get my account restricted, right? So like that's it, and I lost my account and all of that, and possibly even I think could we get indicted? I don't know for sure, but losing an account is a thing. So the government is doing, they haven't made the process particularly seamless, I would say. But I suppose and the craziest thing, honestly, is considering all of the limitations and the regulations. Development has thrived regardless, and I suppose you actually do need challenges to progress. So yeah, the government has tried to stifle the growth of crypto here in Nigeria, but we found other ways.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't understand any country wanting to shut down crypto. I think it might turn into a game of just don't be first, right? Because it stifles economic growth. It's the opportunity to bring down borders, like you said, operate in a borderless economy. And if there's no borders, you can compete with like salaries and prices on the world stage. So if you're like Sri Lanka and you're selling, I actually don't know what grows in Sri Lanka, but I'm sure someone in the audience, I'm positive someone in the audience knows. You're trying to sell crops. If you can sell those kind of to, America and Canada, instead of kind of getting wholesale prices and selling to, Southeast Asia, you can just get better prices. So why wouldn't you do that? And so the kind of global economy will allow us to all work together. So I really don't understand why any single government would want to shut it down. And I think it'll probably take a couple countries to start to step up and be like, yeah, we're actually going to endorse this, like El Salvador did. Before everyone else is like, shit, we're getting left out. We're getting left out high and dry here. We're being left out of the future. Don't want to lose our place as number X on the country list or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever geopolitical sort of nationalism is going on at the given time.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. We'll just quickly head over back to lobby and talk about that. But one last thing to say is it's actually quite interesting, to be honest, that if the Nigerian government embrace crypto a lot more, it would significantly change the country's economic status and everything in between. And so it's ridiculous, to be honest, to see that they're handling all of these regulations and they're trying to stifle growth. But I suppose that's just like what it is.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for letting me go on that tangent. I always love kind of learning about how crypto's actually being used every day by people not here for shitcoins.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So just getting really close to rounding this up. I suppose what would you say, or what are one of the questions or features or insights, one of the things you are particularly excited about lobby that I must have failed to ask? What is that one thing that is like, this is ridiculously cool about lobby, and I wish everyone knows about this?
I would say the thing that everyone should go check out if you're in the audience, and especially if you have a project that you've looked at, that you're just like trying to learn more about, but only know where to look. Try looking up on lobby. If you just go to beta.lobby.so, there's a big search box. You can't miss it. Type your questions in there, get answers. Our knowledge base is really good, and we'll get on demo calls, we'll get on customer calls, and people will just kind of like in the background they'll ask some questions, and I'll be continuing with my demo, and someone will pipe up and say, "Oh, by the way, search is really good," and I didn't even realize they were playing with it the whole time. So it's a lot of fun. It's just to learn about Web3, but also to just get an answer back for the very specific question that you have. So play with that, and if you like it, connect your wallet, try out the personal workspace, and get access to that exact same search on your very own documents.
All right, there we have it, folks. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, check out the guys over at Lobby. They're doing really, really cool stuff. You can follow Wilson and Matthew and the entire Lobby team and keep up to date. If you're curious about Web3, like I am, curious about everything from the development, the engineering, NFTs, DAOs, and everything. I'm pretty much, have had my hands around everything, and it's always very exciting. I jumped into Web3 the moment I heard about it, even when I was still like partly developing like my Web2 career, and it almost doesn't make sense. It's like, why don't you stay here and try to figure things out before you pivot? But I couldn't help myself. You could say there was a bit of a shiny object syndrome there, but I'm thankful that there was a bit of shiny object syndrome there because what would I have done otherwise? And so if you guys are curious about learning anything about Web3, please visit lobby.so and follow Wilson and Matthew and just like geek out on all of this cool stuff they're building, and let's have some fun. So lastly, please feel free to raise your hands and come in, any final words, thoughts you might have. And I don't know if Wilson has something he wants to chip in.
I mean, I have something to shill at the end, but I have time. So if anyone's got questions, I got answers. So come on up, give you a few seconds, raise your hand. I want to talk to you. I want to make new friends. That's why I did this in the first place. So I know someone out there listening, thinking, no, I don't have anything smart to say. And I'm here to say, yes, you do. Raise your hand. Come on up.
Yeah, raise your hand coming up. So before anyone comes, and I do have a question, because again, very curious about Web3. So one of the things that I found interesting when we're talking about DAOs and when I was learning about governance with DAOs, I thought to myself, well, this doesn't sound as decentralized as it comes off, because whoever has the most token has the most vote. And so, what are your thoughts about that? And I think Vitalik tweeted about that yesterday, and someone, said something else. But it's, if I have, let's say, one lobby token, or let's say 10 lobby tokens, and I'm just going to assume that the dynamic and the structure is one person, one vote, and once your token has been used for that particular vote, you're down to 9 tokens, right? Whoever has 100 tokens basically has way more, you could say, voting power in the much more longer term than I do. And so, how does that exactly? Point is, in my head, it doesn't sound very decentralized. So, what are your thoughts about that? And how is there a future where we navigate that so it makes a bit more sense and it's a lot more inclusive? Yeah. This has been fun for me. I've learned so much. Thank you, Matthew. Again, thank you, Wilson. Thank you to Dapp team for bringing this all together.